Welcome to this week's episode of Success and Women, a show all about helping women. Today we're going to be talking about mindset.
Okay, sounds good to me.
And going along the theme that we've been talking about, sort of, Andrea, we talked about why people want to do, and if you had a strong enough why, then your why would help you be motivated in order to be successful in whatever it is that you want. And then we talked about setting goals so that if you had goals, you can take the action steps in order to succeed because you have a strong enough why. But then we talked about, taking 100% responsibility for your actions. So if you don't do something on your goal list and the actions you need to take, you can't blame everybody else. And then we talked also about the fact that the law of attraction will help if you can visualize and you can bring that into your subconscious. It would help bring the universe all the things that you need in order to attract into your life what it is that you would like.
Right.
But with all of that, Andrea, if you don't believe it, if you really think that you're not good enough,
Not worthy enough, yeah.
not worthy, it doesn't matter.
It won't happen. Yeah, it won't happen. You'll struggle.
To give you a little silly little example, I used to take my mother to the bingo once in a while, and my mother can be a little bit on the negative side. So when she'd go to the bingo, she goes, I never win. And she went in with the mindset that she wasn't going to win. And I said, Mom, you can't be so negative. You got to think that you're going to win. She goes, well, no, I want to win. And I said, no, Mom, I understand you want to win. But the fact is, you don't believe that you can win.
Exactly.
And what happens?
She doesn't win.
She doesn't win. Now, Andrea's mother, on the other hand, when she was alive and went to bingo, her mother always expected that she was going to win.
Definitely.
Her mother walked in thinking, I'm a winner.
I'm going to win.
And she did.
Oh, my mother won a lot.
All the time.
Yeah.
I mean, when she didn't win, that was like, whoa.
Rare.
She'd given it to somebody else, or maybe her mindset wasn't set that day. But Andrea's mother was winning all the time. And this goes along for business or anything else. You've got to have the mindset. You've got to believe that you can do it.
Right.
Funny enough, yesterday, I was listening to, for those of you that know Dr. Laura, it's a radio show on Sirius XM. And there was a caller in that was a very successful person in hotel management. And this person would have to give advice to a lot of other people that struggled in certain areas because he helped people be more successful in running their businesses. But the reason he was calling in to Dr. Laura was because he said, I don't really think I'm qualified enough.
Wow.
And Dr. Laura said, you just told me you had 20 years of business, that you're good at what you do.
Right.
So she felt that there was something underlying behind what he was saying to her.
Right.
Because she knew he had the qualifications because of what he had already told her and how long he'd been in business. And the fact that these people were coming to him for advice, they knew that he was very good at his job. And so she started asking him some questions, and he would say, well, there's a lot of people that are more qualified than I am. And she said, absolutely, because in this world, there's always going to be people that are better at something than you are, and some people that will be less, knowledgeable.
Successful.
And that doesn't mean that you can't go and do something in your own profession just because you're not the absolute best in the world. Anyway, bottom line was he didn't believe that he was good enough to give advice. And do you know why? And we're going to be talking about this in another episode, Andrew. We've talked about this. People that have a strong self-belief that their body image prevents them from being more successful.
Oh, wow. That, I could see that, yes.
So he said, you know, he wasn't the best looking guy, he was overweight, and he felt that a person like him shouldn't be giving advice, even though he knew and he was successful in his own career.
Wow.
Isn't that an interesting thing?
Very.
That his mindset, he had the limiting belief that body image made a difference in his success.
And how people looked at him
Yeah.
or perceived him, that he was qualified. Wow, that's interesting.
And you know,
sad.
it is sad because a lot of us will grow up with limiting beliefs. I grew up with the limiting belief that if I was more successful, that people wouldn't like me, that, you know, they would look down, or they'd say, you're not good enough, you're not qualified. You know, Andrew and I both came from a very small town, very large families, and average, but we didn't know we were average, and we also didn't know we were kind of like sort of in that lower, you know, the way that they distinguish now classes of people,
Right.
you know, depending on how much money they have. We grew up in very good, healthy environments with our parents, and you know, our fathers both working, but in mines, and didn't make a lot of money to support huge families. They did the best they could, but we felt sometimes, because we didn't have the money, at least I did, Andrew, I don't know about you, that I couldn't be or do what I wanted to. And it took a lot of years and a lot of courses to realize that I was stopping myself from being more successful than I am.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm successful in my business, but I could have been even more successful. I saw a lot of people making a lot more money than I did, knowing that I, okay, she's distracting me, but you know what? It is a show about women, and we're here. She's not telling me what it is, but she's looking at me funny. But anyway, the point is,
Okay.
the point is that I limited my own self. I stopped myself from growing. And even when I was married, I believed that my husband wouldn't love me if I made more money than he did. Because
wow.
that was a thing in the old days, that men had to be the breadwinners, at least the bigger breadwinners. And so it was a lot more difficult for women to want to pursue a career that could elevate them to a point where they could be making more than their husband.
I don't know. I never really felt like that. I don't know. I guess my mother was before she got married, she worked for the newspaper company in Truro, Nova Scotia, and maybe I always felt that women could work. And when she became a mom, and she stayed home, but then she started doing like some caterings at the local banquet hall. I don't know, I guess I always felt that women could work. Now, the funny thing is, I never wanted to work. I wanted to stay home with my family, which I eventually did, but I mean, I did work for some time, but no, I never felt that what I made had any impact on my marriage.
That's good, and it's interesting because your father obviously was very comfortable that your mother was a strong person in that way and was supportive.
Mm-hmm. My
My mom, even though she did work most of our growing years, she only worked when my father would be home to parent us. They were never apart, together. They were only working opposite all the time so that they had the extra money and all that. But I guess my mother, I think, put us in a category of women doing certain things, and, you know, men had certain professions that they could do. And, you know, back when we were growing up, you know, there were a lot more professions for the men. And even though I ended up in an industry that is more male dominated, more and more women have come on. But part of me, I struggled because, again, I didn't believe I was good enough. And I kept trying to think about my father, because my father really believed that men and women were equal, girls and boys were equal, and girls could do anything that a boy could do if they wanted to.
Right.
the thing is, my father died when I was quite young, and I think I still needed him
Yes.
as I was, in the later teenage years and early adolescent or adult, because even at that point in my early 20s, I got married so young, and my husband sort of controlled, I'll say, our environment, in the sense that I was okay to work, but I think he felt a little bit threatened that maybe I would go further in my career, and I think part of that held me back. And I'm not blaming him, because that was my belief.
That's right.
That wasn't necessarily his belief.
Right.
Or my mother's.
Right.
But you see what happens when you start feeding your mind with things that you think is what other people are thinking. You don't communicate that, so they don't even know that you're thinking that.
That's right.
But you hold yourself back. And then you like to think it's something else or somebody else.
Right. Because if you had let yourself go and be successful like you are today, your husband would have been okay with it, believe you me, after seeing, how comfortable it made his life. And I mean, he had a wonderful job also. And, but because you think, well, this might affect my marriage or affect my relationship, you sort of stifle your true potential.
It's so true, Andrea, what you say, because we had in the beginning of my career in sales, actually, our manager would always say that, if you've got goals, and sometimes the goals were actually set by our bosses, that we had to do so many sales in a month. And what would happen is that if we did more, that would just even make it better. But what we always would do would pull us back into thinking, okay, well, I've made it, and then you get lazy for the rest of the month because you met that goal.
Right.
Because you don't want yourself to be elevated to maybe a bigger and better position in sales, because you think that you don't deserve it. And I can even tell you that on the golf course, I shoot a certain score that if I'm playing really well, by the end of the game, I will have screwed up enough holes so that I get my average again. Because it's almost like I know I'm not good enough to be having this lower score, so I'm going to screw up my holes. I don't do it intentionally, but if my mind is there believing that I'm not good enough and I can't get a lower score, or I shouldn't be making more sales because maybe that's going to mean I'm better and more, there'll be more expectations on what I can do.
That's true.
And then I pull myself back in and I think, no, not you, Linda. You shouldn't be making more money. You're not good enough. You're not like those other people. They're better than you. They're more educated. They're smarter than you. But it's all here.
Yes.
And so now I have this little, I used to call it an affirmation. And one of the things that Tony Robbins talked about when I was listening to his program last week is he said affirmations, you can say, I'm a pig, I'm a pig, I'm a pig, I'm a pig. But you're not a pig, you're a human person.
Yeah.
So an affirmation doesn't really change anything. But an incantation is where you bring in your whole body and your voice inflection. But believe it or not, because I've been doing these affirmations since probably 1992. And I was on a sales training program with Tom Hopkins, and he gave us at the end of the program this little plastic shower thing. So in my shower, I had this list of affirmations. And the affirmations, and when I was saying them this morning, I was trying to be more passionate and using my whole body, because that becomes an incantation. Because I need to convince myself and my mind that I am worthy. And my affirmations that I've been saying for over 30 years is, I will win. Why? I'll tell you why. Because I have faith, courage, and confidence. Today, I'll meet the right people in the right places for the betterment of all. I see opportunity in every challenge. I'm terrific at remembering names. When I fail, I look at what I did right, not what I did wrong. I have clearly defined goals. I never take advice from anyone more messed up than I am. I never let a negative thought enter my head. I'm a winner, contributor. Oh, and that's where I screwed up again at that last little bit. But you know, when you're saying these affirmations, you write them out, the ones that you want, and you say it with conviction, you will eventually believe it. So yes, I did screw up from 32 years of doing this or 30 years of doing this. It can happen because I'm filming. I'm trying to give it to you in the most passionate way, but you get my idea.
Yes.
It's very important that you believe in yourself. And you believe to the point where you just want to be passionate about what it is. And you are good enough. And when I was on a course with Jack Canfield, you can see, Andrea, I've taken a lot of courses over the years.
Yes, I know.
I'm always learning, but it's what I like to do.
Right.
But,
Well, I mean, that's because you're in your business. Now, myself as a domestic goddess, I have taken courses on, you know, cooking or cooking with friends. I've done stuff on child
being a better
raising,
parent.
being a better parent. So it's what you want to learn
And get up.
and to help you in your daily life. And I've done those too. Exactly.
And you know, it's really true because Andrea will tell me a lot of times about some of the stuff that she's had to deal with her kids as they were growing up. They're all adults now, but the things that parents go through, and because of the skills, the very, very good skills that she got, because she took these courses, because she believed that she could be a great parent, and you are, and now a great grandmother. I don't mean a great grandmother, a very good grandmother.
A Gigi.
A Gigi to her one grandson. But it makes her a better person to deal with the human interactions that she's had to do and all the struggles of parenting, because I know I'm not a mother, but I see with a lot of people and sometimes what happens when, you know, kids are going through a rough patch. But I also believe that, you know, if you're there to support your kids and you believe that you're a good parent and you've got good advice, that you will come across and you will reach those kids eventually.
Right. That's right.
Now, there's always exceptions to every rules. And ladies, we're here to just try to tell you most of the things that you're doing, it's all normal. But one of the things that I was going to mention that Jack Canfield said, because sometimes when you don't believe that you're not good enough, you have to wake up and look yourself in the mirror and say, I love me. I actually have a saying, and I tell people this all the time. Nobody loves me as much as I love myself.
And I can attest to that.
But the thing is, if you don't love you, why should anybody else?
Exactly. And if you don't feel that you're worthy, nobody else will. And like the one thing that I do in the morning when I wake up, first of all, I thank God that I woke up.
Yes, me too.
Yeah, and I
Thank you.
always say, I am strong, I am healthy, and I'm going to do the very best that I can today. And that kind of helps me. And I do a few stretches, I do, workout, and now I feel I'm ready for the day.
And it's good. And ladies, there's not one of you out there that shouldn't be able to say, you've got something worth sharing with the world. And so start with yourself. Love yourself for all the great things that you've done. And if you start writing down a list of your gratitude of things, you're going to come up with a lot more things than you realize.
Definitely.
A good friend, a good parent, a good co-worker,
All kinds of things.
a good driver, because you don't honk your horn at everybody that's driving you crazy on the road.
That's right.
But those are all things and reasons why you should love yourself. And if it starts here, then other people can as well. And then you bring that into whatever else that you want to be successful with in life.
Right, exactly. And, a lot of times we worry about what people think and this or that. Really, they're not thinking about us as often as we think they are. So love yourself, work on yourself, like take the day to relax or do your nails or whatever it is, and don't feel guilty. Don't worry about what other people think. This is your life, and your day and your mind and your body.
Yeah, and just believe that you're worth it all.
Definitely.
Because everything starts with the mindset. You have to believe. So on the next episode, we'll be talking about some things that, again, carry on towards this success and making you feel better about yourself. By doing that, you can do something else that's even greater.
Definitely.
So until next week, have a great week, ladies, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye, ladies.